The first time I visited Westside Barbell several years ago, I was surprised and a little bit disappointed to see all the lifters doing sets of 50. After waiting around in the parking lot for an hour, I wanted to see bleeding noses and bulging eyeballs and 900 pounds on the bar. But Louis had everybody doing high rep work that day. He told me that he wanted to help his elite lifters hardwire the movements. And I was familiar with this concept in kids, but this was new to me. Even pros have to get a lot of basic reps in to progress. And I thought of Louis last week when a friend of mine shared this with me. Sales is a perishable skill. I'm Chris Cooper. This is Run a Profitable Gym. And my new book, The Golden Hour, is all about building habits. You know, as a fitness coach, that habits are what really make a difference in a person's fitness. If they did a workout every day, ate well, stayed off the couch and off the sugar, they would become a completely different person because we all become our habits. But it's hard to start habits. You have to start with practice reps. And today I'm going to give you some practice reps for business, for sales, for goal reviews, for getting referrals, and then the hard conversations like firing staff or raising rates. Take these practice reps and do them every single week, and you will result in a completely different business. So let's start with sales. And I call this sell to your dog first. We've been tracking data on lead generation and appointments booked and sales conversions for years now. And we publish this every single year as our state of the industry, and you can get that for free. But your ability to get people to join your gym really comes down to one thing, and that is your ability to coach those people to sign up. This is really kind of the narrowest point in your marketing funnel. Lead generation, lead nurture, and ads, that's kind of the easier stuff. The hard part is really learning to say, would you like to join us? So after tracking this data with thousands of gyms around the world, we know that teaching you how isn't the big difference maker. We teach you what to say and how to say it and to whom you should say it in our mentorship program. But reps really make the difference. So you don't want to get your reps on a live audience. It's too expensive to be practicing this over and over with people who want to join your gym. Instead, practice this on your coaches or your spouse or your dog or the mirror, but you have to practice. Now, we do something that's called the Two Brain scenario deck, and we send this out to every person in Two Brain. This is a lot of fun to help you practice with reps. So we send this to everybody in Two Brain, and you can draw a card and practice some reps, based on what's on this card. So this card says, a client wants to use your facility to do their own thing, but I promise I'll stay out of the way. How do you handle it? You can practice these conversations, but today my goal is to give you a few specific ones, the most important ones that you can practice over and over. So I'm going to give you some scenarios. I want you to practice them 5 times each. If you're really shy, practice in front of a mirror. Top salespeople around the world do this all the time, but it's best to practice with your coaches or your spouse if you can. So first, let's get some practice reps in sales. First rep. A new client wants to lose 30 pounds in the next 6 months. Present your plan, including your nutrition coaching and exercise. Tell the client the price and then ask if he or she is ready to buy. Get 5 reps practicing that. Scenario 2, a new client says, I know what I need to do. I just need you to hold me accountable for doing it. What do you say? Practice that 5 times and then move on. Scenario 3, a new client says he or she wants to sign up, but they got to check with their spouse. Help the client take action now. Practice that 5 times before you move on to the next one. Scenario 4, a new potential client says that they have to go home and think it over. What do you say to that? Practice that 5 times. And the 5th scenario is this. A client says, boy, that's a lot more money than I thought I'd pay for a gym membership. What do you say? Practice that 5 times. It doesn't matter if these practice sessions go well. It doesn't matter if you feel like an idiot talking to the mirror or your dog or your spouse or the coach while you're practicing. What matters is that you start learning how to help people get the results that they want. The first act of coaching is coaching them to sign up and start their journey. And if you can't convince them to join your caring circle of fitness, they're going to go waste their money somewhere else, buying running shoes they won't use or a treadmill that'll gather dust or a gym membership that they don't know what to do with. So it's really your duty to be good at this. Someday, you might hire staff to do this for you, but for now, it's up to you. Go out there and save them. Coach them to take the first step and join. Now let's talk about goal review sessions. Every quarter, you should meet with each client and review their progress. That's what coaching means. Now, our data regularly shows that the best gyms do this really, really well. A regular system of feedback, analysis, and new prescriptions is the separator that the best micro gyms do and the worst micro gyms don't. More and more, the prescriptive model is becoming our actual job. The delivery of nutrition and exercise programs is just how we implement those prescriptions. So I want you to practice 10 goal review sessions. Again, you can practice with your mirror, with your dog, your spouse, your best friend, or on your coaches. Coaches on couches is fine too. Talk about their goals, measure their progress, and make a new prescription for the next 3 months. Then book their next goal review sessions before they leave. Start the goal review meeting with bright spots. What are they most proud of achieving? And then follow up with this question. Are you happy with the progress you've made so far? If they say yes, move to Affinity Marketing. And I'll talk about that in the next section of this podcast. If they say no, work on giving them a new prescription. So today we're going to focus now on the prescription side. And then next I'll come back to Affinity Marketing, what happens if they say yes and they're ready to give you a referral. So this is the prescriptive model. Start with their goal. What exactly would they like to attain? And then measure the point they're at now. If somebody's just brand new coming in, measure the starting point. If this is a goal review, measure the point they've achieved so far. It's important to measure the thing that they want to improve. For example, doing a functional movement screen on somebody who just wants to lose weight isn't going to convince them that you can help, and it's probably not going to help you with their plan either. If a person wants to lose weight, measure their weight. If the person wants to do a new max deadlift, measure their max deadlift. And then break down the goal into smaller steps. Okay, you want to get to a 300-pound deadlift, you're at a 200-pound deadlift, here's the steps to get you there. What's the halfway point to the goal? 250 pounds. Okay, what's halfway to halfway? 225. And then show the client the plan, and I'll give you a template if you want, but you can just draw this on a blank sheet of paper like I do. So our next step is to get you to a 225 deadlift. And then, you identify the timeline and their best course of action to get them there. I think that coming to our regular group classes, as you've been doing, will get you there. But if you want to get yourself there faster, let's talk about some one-on-one coaching. So your next prescription is what it will take the client to get to their first, milestone on the way to that goal. Write the prescription on your prescription pad, and we give people a template in our growth stage of mentorship. Ask the client if they agree with your prescription. Then present the price to get them there. Then collect the money and then schedule their next goal review session. Set up a tracking process so that the client can see themselves achieving the steps toward that goal. Maybe you're using SugarWatt or Trainerize or a spreadsheet or whatever. Notify the coaches to look for the bright spots. So every time the client steps closer to that goal, the coaches should celebrate it. And they need to reinforce the idea that the client has made the right decision. Right? And then repeat this process every quarter. But what I want you to practice today is measuring the client's progress, getting their new goal, making a prescription to get them to that goal, asking them if they agree, and then presenting that price. It's a great idea to become very, very good at this. Practice that for 10 reps. The next is getting referrals. We all know that the best new clients come from your current clients. And then when they refer their friends or their family, you get somebody who already knows your service, who already knows your rate and they can probably afford it, who already has friends at your gym, who already knows what to expect, and they already know, like, and trust you. All the stuff that's hard to buy no matter how big your ad spend. The problem is that waiting for your clients to refer their friends doesn't work. It's too passive. You can wait all year for the subject to come up in conversation at their dinner table. And your clients aren't salespeople. They're not going to convince their friends as well as you would. So Affinity Marketing takes the process from passive to active. You're not asking for referrals, you're extending an offer to help. And if you do it well, it's not even going to feel like a sales pitch to your clients, just a caring offer from their coach. But you need practice. So I want you to go through this 20 times in the next few days. Practice on your dog, your neighbor, your spouse, in the mirror, whatever. Okay, so now going back to the goal reviews that we just started with, when you ask, are you happy with the progress you've made? And the client says, yes, then you should continue on their current path. Tell the client, good, keep doing what you're doing, and turn to asking for a referral. So you're going to say, congratulations, I'm so proud of you. Then you're going to pull out your camera and say, what's one thing that you wish somebody had told you about my gym before you joined? Then you say, who's been most helpful to you on your journey? I'd like to send a thank you card. And then finally, you get a name and a contact number from them, and you reach out and you offer to help that client's spouse or coworker or friend. So like, be super specific. I'll give you 2 examples. You say to your client, like, who's been most supportive to you on this journey? And they say, oh, my spouse. And you say, okay, how would you feel about calling your spouse right now while I've got you here? Half the time they'll say yes, half the time they'll say no. And if they agree, you just call the spouse at work, at home, whatever, and say, hey, Alan, I'm just sitting here with Joan, and we were just talking about you. She'd like to invite you in to work out with her. What do you say? And if the client would rather not have you cold call a friend, you can email instead. So what you would do is you would sit there and write the email while the client's sitting there in front of you and CC the client. So the subject line is your client's name. So subject line, Joan. And the text of the email goes, hey, Alan, I was just chatting with Joan, and we agreed that we'd love to have you in for a partner workout. Her next appointment will be Monday at 7 p.m. Can you make it? Now, I want you to practice doing this live in person with the cold call 20 times before next week. Affinity marketing, or any kind of marketing really, makes a lot of gym owners feel uncomfortable. But marketing is just really building relationships and having conversations. It's meeting new people and offering to help them. So the question I ask myself, if I feel awkward about meeting somebody, introducing myself, or offering to help is, do I care enough to overcome my awkwardness and help this person? In other words, can I get over my own internal BS and really change their lives? And that's why the majority of new clients at my gym come from personal relationships I make, or our coaches make, or our clients make. We didn't spend $1 on Facebook ads before 2021 because we just didn't have to. And the thing that stops most gym owners from growing isn't their lack of knowledge, it's their fear. You overcome fear through practice. And as you get better at practice, it becomes a habit. So now I want to turn to hard conversations, and this is one of the toughest. I'm really grateful to Chris Voss, the author of Never Split the Difference, for the template here, and he was our headliner at the 2020 Two Brain Summit. We learned a lot from him, and I'm going to share with you his conversation template so that you can get some reps and build your habit. So this time I'm going to have you practice a rate increase conversation with your clients. You have to practice this conversation at least 5 times before you can have it with people who push back against your rate increase. Okay, so here's the scenario. Imagine you're raising rates and you identify, here's the highest risk clients who might not want to pay more, and you invite them to talk with you about it in person. And so they respond to your email and they're like, man, I'm going to cancel and I'm going to blast you on the way out. So you invite them to speak in person because wisely, you know that upgrading the conversation will help you get a better outcome, even if they do quit. People say things on text and email that they would never, ever say in person. And so you want to invite them to talk to you about it in person. So now you're sitting across from the client. It feels awkward. You're terrified. It feels that way to them too. And you have to remove the emotion from the conversation before you can work on a solution. So imagine the client's emotions to be a big red balloon that is floating in the air between you. It's obscuring your vision of each other. You can't see them. You can barely see through the balloon to see the person on the other side of it, the human. You have to pop that balloon. You have to let some air out so that it sinks down. So you start with a pointed emotional question, and then you just listen. Your question is this. So you're worried about the rate increase. Get right to the point. And while you might have to sit there and listen for 10 minutes while the person vents, you'll be able to let that balloon sink. Their emotion will empty out. And you'll slowly watch the balloon drop a little bit. But you'll probably have to poke it again. So you want to get all the emotion out before you can work on a solution. So you say, are you worried that you can't afford the new rates? Or whatever it is, their primary objection, you go back to that and you ask them again. And you let them vent again. And the purpose is to have them get it all out, empty out their emotions, sink that balloon down. And you might have to go back with the pin the 3rd time. And that's okay. Because when all the emotion has been removed, you can have a logical conversation. Remember, your job isn't really to convince the client to stay. Your job is to leave the door open for return someday. So you say this, hey, I really appreciate where you're coming from. Unfortunately, I don't have a choice here, and I'm going to go ahead with the rate increase. And that's really important. Most clients will just think that you're rich and greedy and trying to skim more. And the client might not even stay, but he or she won't burn a hole on the way out because you removed emotion from that conversation. So pick 5 people, or dress up your dog in 5 different costumes and have that conversation 5 times before you go live with it. And the template for rate increases, including this conversation, is available in our growth stage of mentorship. So I've given you a bunch of different reps that you need to practice. And the reason I'm doing this is because the top 12% of gym owners do things that nobody else does. And that thing that they do is they build habits. They started right where you are. And then they got lots of hard practice reps in the basics as part of our mentorship program. And then they get better and better at these conversations, doing lots of reps until they become habits. And as the habits take hold, their business changes. So practice these reps every week until they become a habit. Refine your habits until they become skills. Then look around and you'll see a whole new business. It's just like taking somebody who doesn't move well and teaching them the basic squats. The first few reps aren't going to be comfortable, but as they practice under your coaching and guidance, they will become better and their exercise will become a habit. And then their basic reps will become skills, and one day they'll look around and they'll see a whole new body that they're in. It can be the same for your business. I'm Chris Cooper. This is Run a Profitable Gym. Let's go get some reps in.